Hey everyone, I've had a couple people asking me what kind of cameras I use, what setup I use to be able to film for Motorpup Molly or even charity events that we do to get camera pictures and videos, that kind of stuff. So I thought I'd go over my setup, what I have. Borrowed a lot of things from a lot of people, tried a lot of things. This is kind of what I ended up for now. It'll probably change down the road, but I like it. It's been working well for me. I use the AKASO brand camera. This is the E7000 Pro, and I've been very happy with it. The image stabilization is good for video stuff. The sound is not so good. A lot of times I end up cutting out sound. The battery life is not so good on them, so I have it direct wired to my switch, so when I turn it on, the bike on, it automatically turns the camera on. So that's actually a benefit for me, that I don't have to turn something else on. I can jump on the bike, hit the power button, my camera turns on for me. So I actually like that. That's worked out well for me. But the camera's great, the price point is great. You can pick these up for about 80 bucks right now, maybe even less as new models come out. So the price I don't have to worry about somebody stealing it, or do I drop it, or do I mount it so low and I scrape it? Like it doesn't matter to me as much. I do use the case on it. I painted it black for some reasons for sun. I'll get into that a little bit later. But that's the camera that I'm using. The thing I have right here, this is an add-on. This is a little mount. It's I think for like almost like a microscope, or like a thing that you can put on a camera to put in something, and it has a little angle and has the light. And so what that does is when I'm sitting on the bike and riding on the bike, I can easily see whether that's turned on, whether it's actually, if it's blinking, it's recording. It just makes it a lot easier to see from when I'm riding on the bike. I like that. You can see the little light, but I always had to kind of put my hand up and see whether I could see it or not. For me, it was a fix. So I drilled a hole, super glued that in there, voila. As my wife says, I like to tinker with things. The mount I'm using is basically a 1-inch ball mount, the mirror mount, and then a ram style, like a 4-inch connector. And then this, I'll have it in the link. This is like one of those like really long ones with a clamp on the bottom that you can clamp on. I didn't like them because it bent too much, but what I did is just snap them apart. Those things just kind of pull in, pull out. So I shortened it to just one connection, got a threaded ball mount and mounted that to the bottom section and just bolted that on basically. And so what that does is that gives me the ability while I'm riding to be able to turn around, get the guy beside me, come around, get a back, with me, and then the riders in the back. It just gives me flexibility to move that around and it stays where I want it. I've been really happy with that. That has worked out really well for me. And it's something that kind of trial and error and rigged up kind of thing, but it has worked well for me. But yeah, all the links will be in below with an Amazon wish list for you. Now for the back camera, what I did was, it's the same camera, exact same camera. And the why I did that was, well, this is really my second camera. It's not like a second. Sometimes I have it mounted up front on the fairing so that it can shoot back and catch Molly from that side. Sometimes I have it mounted kind of coming out, up through. A lot of times I like it just mounted on the back here. I just use threaded 1-inch balls and use that to where the license plate secured on. There again, the image stabilization works really well. So that has worked well for me. So I have this on the back. I found personally that shooting from low angles up kind of makes for some pretty good images and some, not as normal run of the day kind of stuff. So I like that. The thing I did here, really getting into tinkering around, is I put a little photo switch, light switch on the top of this unit. And what that does is that relays up through to my dashboard where I have a light on there, and that light will mimic whatever this light does. So that way when I'm recording, I can tell when I'm just riding, I press record, that this unit is actually working. I've had some times where the cord comes out, runs out of battery, and I think I'm recording, I'm not recording, or I press stop and start. I do have both the same cameras so that one remote turns on both cameras. So that just, there again, makes it easier. I'll just hit one button, everything's recording, hit one button, everything's off. So it just makes things a little bit easier that way. This is a little bit more into how the photo sensor works, how the light gets reproduced up onto my dashboard light. The way I have it wired is I have a feed coming in, a USB feed that feeds everything, and then that comes out and that powers my camera, so I can plug in and power my camera. And then the light sensor I have coming back through, and that runs into a little circuit board that triggers when to turn off. There's a little sensitivity knob on there too. And then that comes back and that goes up to my light. And I also have wiring in the front as well. So when I mount my camera on the front shooting back, I can wire into that. If I want to mount my camera on this bar, I can use this hookup, or the back, I can use this hookup as well. That way that enables me to see that the back camera is working and also recording. And what I've done, since both cameras work off they're the same camera basically, I use one remote. I used to have it Velcroed right here, and then I could just use my thumb for camera or for video. I saw a guy that had used micro switches. I'll put his link below too, kind of how he did it, because he did it a lot nicer than what I did, honestly. But basically just put little micro switches in here. They're wired. It was like a Cat 5 wire, just pulled like strands out of that for what I needed. Used a vacuum to get it down through the hose, through the handlebars there. And then I have them running into the front there where I have the remote, but I've soldered in connections to that remote so that when you press the button, like this button here will actually shoot video and stop video and then take a picture or not take a picture. So that has just made things a little cleaner than having the remote here. And you know, it's fun to do. I did it with my garage door opener too. I have a button that I can just press that's connected to the physical garage door opener that saved me, you know, $200 from buying the Indian one. So that's how I do the remote work. I found some just general things that have helped me just as I've been shooting things, and hopefully they're a help to you as well. Just some general principles. Different angles makes things more appealing. If you just have one camera from one angle, just shooting all the time, it just gets boring to the person who's looking at the picture. So having different angles, a lot of times I'm at an event, I'll also use my camera too, just to get some different ones when I'm not riding. Just so when they post something, to just post something that just has different angles and different perspectives. That's why I love having the camera in the back at a low angle, because it kind of just gives a weird perspective that normally people don't get. I like to shoot video clips. So I'll hit the video, let it run for a couple seconds, and then I'll take that onto my computer and take a screenshot. I'll get to the frame that I like and take a screenshot of that, and then that's the picture that I use. I found that a lot of, probably some of the better pictures I've taken are ones I didn't even know I was taking. And I was filming, and the way the sun was coming through, the way that it looked, like this frame just looks awesome. It would have been tough to get that just by hitting the picture thing. If I'm going somewhere and I'm like, oh, this is cool, I know this is a cool picture, I will use the photo thing, but most of the time I shoot video and then just take a screenshot. The image quality isn't as great, but for Facebook, social media stuff, it works fine. It works great, and you know, it just saves a lot of time. I used to run the video like the whole time, and I get home and go through the whole video, and it's a lot of boring stuff. So just from riding and just picking out things, what you like and what you don't like, your eye starts to get trained on what looks good and what doesn't look good to you. And so that, now when I'm riding, I'm thinking that way a little bit more and saying, oh, that's a cool picture, I'll hit something, and then probably throw it out anyway. Usually it takes me maybe about an hour from the time I get back from like a charity event or a ride to go through footage, take screenshots, and then go through those screenshots and get rid of stuff that's just like, no one's really gonna care about that. Taking pictures of people, gets more interest as well than just, hey, here's some bikes, here's some scenery. People see that, but seeing people connects with people a lot better. So I try to do that a little bit more now than what I used to do. And so, yeah, so that's some of the things that I've learned just by trial and error. And it takes about an hour usually. There is an app that I use. So once I get the screenshots, I actually put them on my phone. And then there's an app that I use, and I'll put that here, that really works well. I got this from a friend, and there's some really cool things. There's some things you can go a little bit overboard, and it's like, okay, that doesn't even look real anymore. But there's some cool artistic things there, and it's a free app, and it works really well. And then I usually post from my phone just because a lot of the social media stuff seems to work better because it's built kind of for the phone. Or sometimes I'll put them back on my computer and then upload from there if I'm going to multiple sites. So that's kind of the workflow that I use. The other reason I like the E700 camera is the AKASO, I guess you say, camera is this one model. You can take the SD card out and I can plug that into my computer. Some of the newer ones are nicer, the battery lasts a lot longer, but the card, the memory's built in, and so you have to download it through your phone, which can be great, and some people love that. And I don't know, I kind of like to be able to have it on my computer and process things that way. So there's different ways to do it, and find the way that works best for you. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. Comment below if there's some things that has worked better for you that you really like when you're capturing video and images for your rides. Be safe, guys. Ride safe. See you later.